The U.S. State Department and the United Nations are condemning the rise in violence in Myanmar. Riot police killed at least 18 demonstrators yesterday in the deadliest day yet of the military coup. According to the UN, soldiers and police fired live ammunition into crowds in several cities, wounding dozens. But that hasn't stopped pro-democracy demonstrators from taking to the streets. Ramy Inocencio has the latest.
Pro-democracy protesters threw Molotov cocktails at police in Yangon, Myanmar's most populous city. Elsewhere, they put out smoking tear gas canisters fired by security forces. Hundreds of thousands of people on Sunday called for the military junta to free Aung San Suu Kyi. This was their answer. This man, along with several others, shot dead in the southeast town of Dawe. A bullet pierced through this man's back and stomach. His lifeless body rushed into an ambulance, everyone fighting for Aung San Suu Kyi. The 75-year-old Nobel laureate finally appeared in court Monday via video conference, charged with 2 new violations, inciting public unrest and violating communications laws. Her lawyer told CBS News the charges are political.
What do the military leaders want?
To erase her from the political scene of the country.
Do you have any fear that she might spend the rest of her life in prison?
She will be a martyr.
Already, memorials and martyrs are starting to rise where pro-democracy protesters fell. More funerals to fire up anger against Myanmar's military that so many want buried instead.
So Ramy is joining us now with more on this. Ramy, what sparked this sort of ratcheting up of violence this weekend?
Sure. You know, Emery, there's not one immediate cause per se as to why this violence sparked, but it's been this growing tension between the pro-democracy protesters and the security forces. Defiance on the protester side. Look, we're now 1 month into this coup. They have been clamoring, demanding for Aung San Suu Kyi to be released by the military junta. But on their side, the military leaders basically have doubled down. And they also gave the security officials cover last week, saying, listen, if you continue to protest on the streets, then we will make sure that you suffer a loss of life. So that is what we saw on Sunday, with at least 18 people reportedly killed, according to the United Nations. According to some other sources, though, they put it higher in the 20s, maybe even the 30s range. But, you know, just trying to put this into context, too, as to how long this might go. Looking at it, it's almost as if we're seeing Hong Kong in 2019 or Hong Kong in 2014, because that has been such a prolonged state of affairs for both of those times. We're just 1 month in. We're seeing that Aung San Suu Kyi really could be detained for the next year if some people are correct in their estimates. So we still may be just in the beginning days.
Wow, and that was sort of going to be my question. You know, we see in your story how they managed to find 2 more charges to sort of stick to her, and that seems to be a little bit of the MO, to sort of dig up more charges. Is there a court date scheduled at all?
Sure. There is a court date, March 15, so just 2 weeks from now. The question, though, is what will happen then in terms of potentially new charges? You were just saying that 2 new charges came up today. Perhaps that's no surprise to people watching, because the idea here is just to prolong Aung San Suu Kyi's offenses, charges, allegations, to try to make this go on as long as possible. Just a little bit of detail with those charges as well. One relates to the publication of information that could cause fear or alarm. Now, when you're looking at everything, you know, for example, that we just broadcast in that package just now, that's a lot of fear and alarm, but that's not coming from Aung San Suu Kyi. That's coming because of the violence between the protesters as well as the security officials there. Another allegation is that Aung San Suu Kyi is being charged with a violation of telecommunications laws regarding some licenses. Now, with her lawyer, he did push back and say, listen, this is all just political, just trying to sideline Aung San Suu Kyi so that hopefully, at least from their side, she never regains power, that she potentially never is able to run, and she can't be the country's top military leader.
The Association of Southeast Asian Nations foreign ministers are set to hold a very special meeting tomorrow. I can imagine that Myanmar's neighbors are watching this unfold closely and with concern. What can you tell us about that meeting?
Sure. ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, 10-member intergovernmental body, they're all trying to basically rein in Myanmar to pull back from, I want to say brink, but it really is past the brink now, isn't it? But in terms of their requests, what we might even say demands, it's a very diplomatic body. So I would say these are requests, but coming in, for example, the immediate release of Aung San Suu Kyi, the immediate de-escalation of the bloodshed, of the violence that the security officials have been wielding against the protesters, and also a return to the path to democracy. But they also said that this needs to happen only with the release of Aung San Suu Kyi and the President U Win Mint and the more than 400 pro-democracy leaders, activists, and allies that up until now and for the past month have all been rounded up and are still detained.
Ramy, thank you very much for doing this. It's really important to get sort of that background information and details that you can't always get just from the story. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you.